Amazon Marketing Stream is still in beta. However, it is already transforming the advertising landscape on Amazon. In this video, we explain what AMS, Amazon Marketing Stream, is and how sellers can start using it. Also, you will see 3 case studies of how you can utilize it for hourly bid adjustment, budget allocation, and placement data.
Hi, Brent. I'm happy you're joining me here today to talk about Amazon Marketing Stream, which is kind of exciting topic for Amazon sellers. It's something new that Amazon launched. So before we do that, could you first introduce yourself and let us know what you do in Amazon space?
Yeah, sure. Hey, thanks for having me on. Yeah, my name is Brent. I'm from the US originally. I live in France. I have an Amazon advertising agency. We mainly work with companies in North America and EU. Selling in English language marketplaces or 5 major languages in Europe. Most of the team's also here in Europe, so we're fairly European in our base, let's say.
Okay, very good. And for today's topic, you prepared the slide deck as well to give us a better overview what this Amazon Marketing Stream is and why it's important for Amazon sellers. So let's go ahead and see your slides as well.
All right, cool. Yeah, so today we're talking about Amazon Marketing Stream, or AMS. Not to be confused with Amazon Marketing Services, which is what used to be called, which is what Ad Console used to be called. So don't get the 2 things confused. Amazon loves acronyms, but AMS is now Amazon Marketing Stream. So this is something that actually came out at the end of last year, but now in 2023 is getting a lot more attention. So just a quick recap on me. Yeah, I've worked with PPC since 2012, founded AMZ Pathfinder in 2015, and we're 22 team members. I'm often on a bike. That's why I put this photo here, because it's more interesting than what you're looking at right now. Yeah, but let's get into it. So agenda. The whole point of this presentation is to answer these kind of 4 core questions for you. And AMS might be something that you've heard about. At least that you mentioned that you've heard of it and like seen it on LinkedIn and stuff like that. If you spend any time on LinkedIn with Amazon people, you definitely have seen it there. But I want you to have a more solid understanding of what the heck it is by the time this presentation's over. So what it is, what it can do, and then how you can actually start using it or making use of it. This presentation gets a little bit technical towards the middle, but I'm trying to distill it down to the, let's say, the most core elements of what AMS is. And it is so new that, yeah, a lot of this stuff is actually not well documented yet. So you're hearing about it here for maybe the first time. So we're going to go over, what is Amazon Marketing Stream, AMS? Why is it a game changer? How is it going to impact your ads in 2023? And then finally, how can you actually go and use it? How can you use this thing? So as I kind of alluded to, a little bit of a disclaimer. This is a snapshot of AMS in 2023. This is like pretty new stuff. This only came out at the end of last year. And it only really has a few features right now, but it's going to keep expanding. Okay. And then another thing to remember about it is it has bugs. They're not as cute as little caterpillar thing I put on the slide here. They're much more nasty than that. And technically it's an open beta, so it is not a finished product, right? It's kind of a little bit rough around the edges. But if you are interested at all in Amazon ads, understanding how AMS works right now is a really good place to be, because it's going to set you up for success in the future. This is especially important if you are working with ads a lot, or you have your own Amazon business, or you have a large percentage of sales coming from Amazon as a channel at your company. And at Pathfinder, we're using AMS right now to make decisions and optimizations based on what we've discovered with it. But yet again, it is still beta. So we're treading a little bit cautiously, and we're not going like all in on it. This is basically the information that I have learned so far from working with my team and working with clients about AMS. So just a bit of a disclaimer before we proceed. So what is AMS? It's basically, and this is Amazon's words, a data streaming subscription that advertisers or tools can use. So think of it more like push updates versus pull updates. So the way that a normal API, an application programming interface, works is you send a request to the server and you say, hey, send me data, send me information. The way that AMS works is it's kind of the inverse. It's what I would call a I'll call you, don't call me model, where Amazon basically said, we're really tired of people just hammering our servers all the time, asking for new data. And this is what tools and individuals like us, like an agency, were doing. It's basically like, hey, give us a new data. Hey, give us a new data. Like doing that like hundreds of times a day. It obviously put a huge load on Amazon servers, and they said, there's got to be a better way to do this. because their servers were just getting slammed. The reason that people were doing this is they want to see the full data set and they want to see how it changes throughout the day. They're trying to understand the progression of data as the day goes on. So the solution to this is AMS, which just basically pushes that information in little pieces throughout the day without you having to request it directly. So it's a subscription in the sense that you subscribe to a feed of changes, not a subscription like Netflix. It's a little bit different subscription. So it's not delivering it in real time, but it's close to real time. It's pretty near-ish real time. And what are they delivering to you in particular? There's three things here, and this is Amazon's definitions. SP traffic, so sponsored products traffic, which is like information about impressions and clicks and all that. SP conversion, which is the actual sales, and then budget usage, which is messages related to budget. Those are the three main things right now. Yet again, this is early days, it's still beta. So let's get more specific about what data exactly are we talking about here? Reporting is basically all the advertising data summarized and all the performance data related to that. Everything that's related to sponsored products. So we talked about impressions, clicks, conversions, add to carts. New to brand, I think is probably included in there now. And the important distinction here is this is done by the hour. This is really, really key to understand. This is like the most important thing here. This information is given at the hour level, or what they call like hourly dimension, I think, in some of their documentation. The second part is messaging. This isn't nearly as important. We're not going to talk about it in this presentation, but it's good to understand that it exists. Messaging is more like notifications like, hey, your budget is up, or hey, your campaign is paused because your product went out of stock. These are important things operationally. You want to know when your campaign stopped or when your budget's going to run up, but they're not very well developed right now, and we don't use them for our purposes. So I'm not going to talk about them because I can't speak to it as much. What we're really focused on in this presentation is reporting data, and then just understand that messaging will be a bigger part in the future, and you should watch out for that. The reporting data, that's performance, by the way, also includes things like placement data. So was the ad at the top of the page, the middle of the page? Was it on a product page? Was it in the rest of search? All those things are important. So just to recap quickly, reporting data, performance data, and placement data is all kind of that first bucket. Hour of day, super important dimension to the data. And then, location we already talked about. So there you go. Now let's look at it one more time, just to reiterate, hour of day and placement data. Those are the two most important things we're going to keep talking about. And what does this actually mean? This means we know the when of Amazon advertising, something that I don't believe we have ever had up until this point. People always used to talk about, oh, my ads do well on a Wednesday, or they do poorly on a Thursday. Well, we never had the actual information to say, oh, they do really well Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and they do really poorly at Thursday at 1 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. Now we can actually start to wrap our heads around that. That opens up so many new possibilities. This is the killer app, if you will. This is the most important part of this. So what does it actually look like? Here is a pretty dense screenshot. Let's go over this. So first of all, this is 24-hour time. So those of you who are maybe watching us from the US, just get familiar with this 24-hour time concept we do here in Europe. But 1300 hours is 1 o'clock p.m., right? And then it goes on till 2300, which is 11. And this is West Coast time, US Amazon time. So that means that 0 is 3 in the morning, East Coast time, US. So just to kind of frame the first bit here, because that first column is hour. I think it's actually covered by a little thing there, but it's hour. And you can see as the day goes on, the CPC, that is the cost per click, decreases as the day goes on. It's pretty clear. And actually, if you look at 1 o'clock in the morning versus, let's say 10 or 11, that's a 38% decrease in cost per click. Now, the reason that happens, this is speculated by many, and I agree with this, is that when budgets reset at the end of the day and then they kick over into the new day, everybody's budgets are fully opened up and their bids are high, or they're, whatever level they were when they were last set. And everyone's spending like crazy, but those times of the day, there's not much demand, right? So basically the cost per click is high only because the budgets and the campaigns are like at that point uncapped. They're like fresh. Now, towards the end of the day, a lot of people's budgets and campaigns are kind of dying out. That's why you see an average cost per click that is much lower. Another thing to notice here in the third column, conversion rate. So conversion rates, 6%, But then you can see in the morning, it actually pretty quickly goes up. And this is, of course, just one particular account, client account of ours, but this is a demonstrative of a larger example. It goes to 9.5, almost 10%, somewhere in the morning into the early afternoon. And then at evening, it kind of settles back to that 7%. Same thing with spend, revenue, impressions, clicks, conversions, orders, all that. You can see like the flat part of the day and then the bump when everyone's up in the morning. And then it's kind of cruising throughout the day. And then it kind of finishes with one last bump in the evening and then goes back down. Now, this is North American data. So yet again, this is West Coast time. And so if you look at maybe my favorite hour here is the 5 o'clock hour. That's 5 o'clock on the West Coast. Now on the East Coast, that's 8 a.m. So notice the spend, revenue, impressions, everything, it really starts to rev up that time of day because that means people are waking up and they're shopping on Amazon. Maybe one of the most interesting things that has come out of the AMS data is that a lot of people are buying and shopping in the morning, a surprising amount of people. I would have assumed that most people did it in the evening or maybe at lunch, their lunch break at work or something, if they're working like a normal 9 to 5. But actually the morning is a huge opportunity. And that's been fun to see because we've made some changes in accounts based on that information. Now this is that same data just charted out differently. Notice cost per click higher in the morning, kind of slides throughout the day until it goes to the evening when it levels out. Conversion rate very spiky, starts out low, goes up in the morning like I just talked about, stays somewhat consistent, and then starts to drop again during the evening into the nighttime when people are going to bed. And then we have spend and ACOS. So ACOS has a inverted relationship with conversion rate and cost per click. So that's going to be higher in the mornings. And spend is obviously just going to do what it does. And you can see that spike in the morning, that spike in the evening, and they kind of dip in between. So this is what it usually looks like, though not every single account is going to look like this. But this is just some of the power of AMS and what it can do. Basically, just because that money is being spent in the early part of the day doesn't necessarily mean it's being put to good use. Notice in the previous slide, we talked about the conversion rate being only 5 or 6%. Therefore, the ACOS in the earlier part of the day is quite high because of that. That's just a snapshot of what it actually looks like inside of a third-party software. Now, why is it such a game changer? You've seen some of the data. You've seen this evidence of, it's higher in the morning, the conversion rate's this, like this. It's less expensive at night. So why does that all matter? We've seen the data. Why does it matter? The first thing is day parting. So what the heck is day parting? Day parting is a concept that's been around on online advertising for many years, but it's kind of new to Amazon. And what it means is you schedule ads for certain times of the day or certain days of the week or certain hours of the day, let's say, when they're able to more effectively target audiences. So a good example on Google for years would be I have a business that has like an in-person location and I have hours for opening. I'm going to run some ads on Google and I only want people to call me through my ads from 9 to 5 because I don't answer my phone at 8 in the morning and I don't answer my phone after 5 o'clock because I'm closing up. So you would say in your ads, in your Google account, hey, I don't want to run these ads between 5 o'clock and then 9 o'clock the following morning. Just turn them off at this time of day. That's a very concrete use case. The way that we would use day parting in this example is we would say, you know what, those morning hours, they're really expensive and our conversion rate is low. Why don't we actually just bid down our campaigns for products where we see that that's the case and then redistribute that spend somewhere else in our account? So the idea of having this, let's call it intraday data, which is a technical term for it, we can see within the specific day which hours are doing better, which hours are doing worse, allows us to use day parting with Amazon and actually do it with real data. We've never been able to do that before. So this is really exciting. And AMS delivers this for us, at least for sponsored products right now, because yet again, it's still a beta, but this is the earliest iteration we've had to do this. And the other point I want to make is early adopters, the ones who first get in on this, are probably the ones that are going to reap the most rewards in terms of monetary value. And I mean monetary value like saving money, making good use of their money that they do have for ads, and also making money from product sales. So simple as that. So here are some use cases. Hourly bid adjustment. This is the most common one. So use hourly data to adjust your bids hour to hour instead of per day. So demand for a product is high in the evenings. Let's say you sell something that for some reason people come home from work, they're on the couch, they're watching TV, they're with their family, they're eating dinner, they're shopping on their phone a little bit. For whatever reason, we know from looking at the data for those campaigns that those people are buying a lot of your products at night in US time, evening into nighttime. What we want to do is make sure that we have high bids for our targets and keywords during that time period, because that's the most lucrative time period for us. Our conversion rates are super high. We get a lot of sales. We want to lean into that and continue to do it. So pretty straightforward, really. Just go where people are most attracted to your product at what time of day, and make sure you show up there more prominently. Use case number 2, this is actually a question of budget allocation. So imagine you have $10,000 to spend in a day. It's a very aggressive ad budget, but let's say that's how much you have. Would you just say, okay, let's divide this by 24 hours and give this much money to every single hour as we go through the day? Or would you say, let's actually take $1,000 and make sure to do it at 6 in the morning because we know people are shopping then. Oh, and let's take another 1,000 and make sure to do that at 7 p.m. at night when people are shopping when they're home from work. That's logically what you would want to do. Until recently, we didn't have any data to support that. Now with Amazon and AMS, we actually do. We can say, wow, we can see that this is true. People are shopping in the morning. And what you can do with this information is adjust your campaign budgets to avoid running out of money at the right times of day. Conversely, you can actually limit your budgets at other times of day to make sure that you're not spending very much. So you can afford to be aggressive with your bids when the conversion rate and the exposure is high, and you can afford to reduce those bids when that's not the case. So basically, you want to make sure to go where the conversion rates are high and put your money there. This also gives you something else, which is kind of like an advantage for exposure. Imagine that there's a time of day when a lot of your competitors, like the end of the day when they're out of budget, if you save your money and then deploy it at the end of the day, that basically gives you the ability to gain a bigger piece of the market share overall. So imagine that there's ads that are showing up at 10 p.m. at night, and then you have more ads than your competitors because you've decided to spend your budget later in the day, and they've already spent all their budget for the day. So it's a question of market share too, to some degree. And then the third and final use case here, this one's a bit more nuanced, but this is a bit of a mashup of the first one and one of the other things we talked about, which is ad placement. So we have different placements on Amazon, like top of search, rest of search, product page, and the AMS information we get includes placement information. So what we can actually do is say, okay, what time of day are our ads doing well? When's the conversion rate high? And under what placement is the conversion rate high? Let's put those two things together. So let's say we're bidding in the morning for top of search. We can actually do that now because we have the data to do it. We have somewhat limited control over this because bidding by placement isn't totally perfect. We can't reduce bids and we can't increase it for some others. And to be totally honest, as a company, Pathfinder, we're still wrapping our heads around this use case and trying to make sense of it. But we are experimenting with it in a handful of places. And we don't have any solid data yet, but it's really interesting to see what we can do with it because this stuff is so new and really exciting. So basically, you're saying, how can we make sure that we're showing up at the right time of day and in the right ad slot to make sure that we're maximizing conversions and making the best use of the money that we do have allocated for this? So those are some use cases, 3 pretty straightforward ones with the limited data that we do get from this. Well, limited in the sense that it's only a few things, not limited in the sense of its utility. It's quite useful. But basically, this is like more bang for your buck or more bang for your euro, whatever it might be. And using the day parting throughout the day allows you to intelligently allocate that money better than just spending it flat or just saying, this is how much we have, and then half of it being spent in the first part of the day. You're just trying to make sure that your message is being shown to consumers when they're the most receptive to hear it. And what this actually means, more impact throughout the day, and then secondarily, more ad efficiency. So your actual ACoS will be lower because you're deploying the spend more intelligently. And who doesn't like a potentially lower ACoS? That sounds pretty good. Last thing here, higher advertising conversion rates means sending a better signal to Amazon. So one other consideration you need to take into account with advertising is, since you're paying for these clicks, are these going to be high conversion rate clicks? Is this traffic going to convert well? Well converting traffic, well converting listings is a signal to Amazon's algorithms that this is a trustworthy product and it should be appropriately ranked for these keywords or for these targets, right? So making sure that you have listings that rank really well is tied directly to conversion rate. So by using AMS data and spending when the conversion rate's high, you're sending additional signals to Amazon that say, hey, this is a product that has a high conversion rate. Therefore, it's reliable and trustworthy. Therefore, you should keep it ranking organically. And if we can help balance the kind of blend between advertising and organic sales, that's really what one of our biggest objectives is as an advertising agency, is to make sure those two things are in harmonious balance, because going too far into ads is not good, and going too far into organic is not good either. So this is the way we think about it too. We want to make sure that we're sticking the products organically too, not just with ads. And then something else I alluded to earlier, you want to hold the budget in reserve while others are not spending. So last part here, how can I use it? This is a bit of a tricky question. So if you have an AWS instance, Amazon's like cloud server technology and service, or either a self-serve advertiser, that is to say a company that's big enough that has like API integration and is using these kind of things, or you're an integrated partner, that is to say a tool, or you're an agency that works with an integrated partner, or you have your own software like many do, you can use AMS. If you already set up with the API, you just have to sign in with the same credentials. If you're not, then you have to go through the API setup. It's pretty much the same account to do both. And there are some developer skills required and some databasing knowledge and some data storage knowledge required. So it's not exactly the highest bar, but it's not a low bar either. These things aren't impossible to do, but they're not super easy either. The way that we're doing it, and the way that I actually recommend, because I showed it off earlier in this, is sign up with a tool provider. There is a handful of Amazon advertising tool providers out there now who are integrating AMS data with the data sets inside of their tools. Usually they have a dashboard where you can look at a date range, or you can look at a drop down, and it'll give you like a 14, 30, 60-day window you can look at. And then you can see your aggregate trends in those windows. Like, oh, every Monday I noticed that we have a poor conversion rate at 3 p.m. And then you can refine it by product or by campaigns. And that's where it gets really useful, because in aggregate, it's interesting. But once you get it down to the product level, you can actually make operational decisions and make campaign changes based on that information. So my recommendation is go use the tool. If you're watching this and you have technical abilities, or you already use the API, go that route. That's fine. Just understand that you're going to have to store a lot of data, because every piece of information you get from AMS comes with 23 times the amount of normal data that it has, because it's giving you 24 hours in a day. So understand that the storage requirements are a little bit higher than just normal API storage. So like I said, we use IntentWise. They have a dashboard, and they're rolling this out next year, something called IntentWise Analytics Cloud, where they're integrating more of that data. Their implementation is pretty good. We're fairly happy with it. There's other tools out there that do similar things too. I don't have as much experience with them, so I can't speak to it, but I know that they exist. But it is a bit of a challenge. AMS data is very big amount of data. So that's maybe the most important thing to do. And it does require a little bit of technical know-how. I also just linked here on screen to the documentation about in the API area for Marketing Stream. There's some pretty basic definitions in there, a lot of which we've already gone through in this presentation. So a lot of it should be reviewed by now. But if you want to like dig into it and check it out, that's the place to go. So that's all. I know it was a bit technical, but hopefully this left you with a good idea of what AMS is all about in 2023. And so if people start talking about it, or you see it on LinkedIn, now you have some background for what it means.
Definitely a lot of data. And actually, my first question would have been the one you already answered, which was how Amazon sellers can actually access the data and how they can really work with it. Now I also understand better what are the options. And thank you for highlighting one of the tools that Amazon sellers can quickly check out and see if it would be something for them to also get use of the data. But I wanted to ask, you said it's a new thing. I assume it's only available on the US marketplace. Is that true, or can you already get information about like other European marketplaces too?
That's a great question. I'm sad I didn't mention this. The good news is it's available everywhere except for India.
Okay. Well,
I don't know why they decided to exclude India, but everywhere that the Amazon Advertising API is current and rolled out, which includes India, has it, except for India. I don't know why they didn't do India. It might be just because the amount of data from India is astounding. I mean, we've worked with Indian accounts and done audits for them, and the amount of clicks and impressions that they have is just tremendous. It's like because just the amount of people there is incredible. It might also be some kind of technical restriction or maybe some kind of legal restriction. I'm not sure, but it is available in the EU markets, Canada, Mexico, yeah, America for sure. There are some features that are US only. Like there's an ad type called sponsored display, which most of the audience is probably familiar with display advertising. I think most of the sponsored display metrics are only available in the US, but everything else that I talked about here is available everywhere.
Well, that's definitely a great news, because usually all of the other marketplaces have to always wait a little bit longer until Amazon launches the new features or
it's painful
to them. Yeah, exactly. Okay, cool. So I wanted to ask one more time how AMC Pathfinder helps Amazon sellers, and what are the exact services you offer, and with what kind of Amazon sellers you usually work together with.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, we have three main things we're really focused on in 2023. I would say our classic PPC management service, which includes everything you saw here, like advertising console, all those different ads, including DSP. Number two would be our content optimization, so storefronts, listing optimization. We even do some video now. We have some people that are doing great video editing. And then the third thing would be Google to Amazon traffic, driving a lot of external traffic. Our clients are companies that make usually more than 100K a month USD in terms of like revenue, but we occasionally work with a smaller client that's got a good growth trajectory, and sometimes work with clients that are far larger that come to us for like all three of those services simultaneously. So we have a fairly wide range. I would say the only companies we don't work with are like Adidas, like Nike, like the giant elephant companies, but we're a bit more comfortable in the mid-tier, I would say. That's kind of where we are set up to serve, and we do a good job of that. So proud of it.
Okay, very good. And what's the best way to reach out to you or also learn more about the services you offer?
Yeah, sure. You can go to brent.bike, which is my personal URL, and you can find a link to Pathfinder there. Or you can scan the QR code that I put at the end of this. That'll take you to a page on our website where you can put in your email, and you'll just get the slide deck, so you can look at that in your own time. And I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter. You can find me a lot of places. So just brent.bike for everything.
Very good. So thanks again, Brent, for joining me and sharing your knowledge with us. And we wish good luck in running your business.
Yeah, thank you, Lisette. Much appreciated.
In case you have additional questions about Amazon Marketing Stream, or you want to know something more, find the comment section below, leave your comment, and we will ask our guest to reply and answer. And if you like the content, as always, don't forget to click like button below, as well as subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And now I would like to invite you to watch other video where you will learn how to make Google advertising, Google Ads for Amazon products more effective with attribution tags.